G37 sedan exhausts. A question that I get asked about all the time. What exhaust is a good exhaust that I recommend for under $1,000? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fox Den. Welcome back to the vlog, and welcome to another acid tree. So recently, a lot of people have been hitting me up on Instagram, and they've been asking me, hey man, what exhausts would you recommend that cost under $1,000? So I'm gonna give a few exhausts that I recommend. I'm sure there's other exhausts under $1,000, but these are just the ones that I recommend and that I would personally buy. And one of these I have had, but these are the ones that I would personally buy, and the ones I would try to gravitate towards and maybe stay away from other ones that are probably available. But alright, so number one, starting off with the Nvidia Q300 Cat-Back Exhaust. Now this exhaust commonly will go over $1,000. However, you can very often find this exhaust for under $1,000. It goes on sale all the time. It's often very overpriced at a lot of places, and it's a very high quality, great exhaust for the money. This exhaust looks fantastic. I actually considered this exhaust, but there's just one problem with this exhaust. It's very quiet, and I really mean quiet. Even with high flow cats and test pipes and even long tube headers, this exhaust is brutally quiet. However, it's a very good choice if you want some performance but you don't want to be loud. You really can't go wrong with it. The other thing about this exhaust is that it does have chambered mufflers, which will rob you of a couple horsepower, which is a little kind of a disadvantage with this exhaust. But it is a very nice looking exhaust and very nice, pleasant sounding exhaust. Perfect for daily driving. Honestly, if I was to have a daily driver modified G, or even just a daily driver G in general that I don't want to do a whole lot to, the Nvidia Q300 would definitely be my choice. A little note about this exhaust: if you want to buy it, be careful where you buy it from. If you buy it on eBay, they are selling non-resonated versions of this exhaust. Do not buy it. You will sound like a Civic with a fart can. Next exhaust on the list is the Obx Cat-Back Exhaust. This exhaust roughs in between $700 and $800, somewhere around there. And basically, let's be honest, this exhaust is just a knockoff of the Arc Grip exhaust. And no, it doesn't sound as good as the Arc Grip. It just doesn't. It sounds similar, but it's just not exactly the same. It just does not have that same exotic tone. But it does sound pretty good. I have heard this exhaust in person, and I can tell you, it just doesn't sound the same. You can know my guy Alex, he has the Arc Grip exhaust, and it's just not the same thing as the Arc Grip. But it's a very good exhaust for the money. It's very similar to the Arc. It's basically a good, cheap alternative to the Arc exhaust. Volume-wise, it's decently loud. It's not crazy like the Motordyne or anything like that. Sound is pretty decent, just because it does tend to have the rattling sound. Especially if you add high flow cats or test pipes, this exhaust is notorious for rattling. But it's a very good exhaust for the price. Cheap Arc Grip. What more could you want? The next exhaust on the list is the Top Speed Pro 1 exhaust. Now this exhaust is not a catback, it's actually a Y-pipe back. I had this exhaust previously, and I can tell you it's a wonderful sounding exhaust. Very, very good sounding exhaust. Even on stock cats, stock Y-pipe, it sounds so clean and nice. You cannot go wrong with the sound of the Top Speed Pro 1. I had it with high flow cats, stock Y-pipe, and I can tell you every single setup sounded great. It sounded great, except the Megan Racing Y-pipe. That sounded like metal on metal brakes or some shit, I don't even know. It just sounded bad, let's just put it that way. But you can run this exhaust with the stock Y pipe if you're not really looking for a whole lot of performance. I can tell you personally, I did feel a little bit of an extra kick in the pants with this exhaust when I first put it on, even just the Y pipe back. And I had that exhaust for a while, and it was really a great exhaust for the money. Eventually I did pair a very high-end Y pipe with it, and that made it sound even better. But you can get a cheap Y pipe for it. Top Speed actually makes a Y pipe, and it'll sound pretty good for the money. You cannot go wrong with that exhaust. Now that exhaust, just the Y pipe back, is between $600 and $700. You know, for a Y pipe back, that's kind of steep, but it's a great looking exhaust, I'll tell you that, and it sounds great. So it kind of justifies the cost a little bit, but even so, that's pretty cheap. Now, the last one on the list, the Monso exhaust. Manzo, however you want to pronounce it, M-A-N-Z-O. So, the Monso exhaust costs $480 on eBay right now, and it is very, very similar to the Top Speed exhaust, being that it is a Y pipe back exhaust. Now, from my understanding, for some reason, the Manzo exhaust, just in video, it seems quieter than the Top Speed exhaust, which is why I went with the Top Speed exhaust, because I did consider the Manzo exhaust when I got this car. But it's basically a cheaper Top Speed exhaust. Y pipe back looks very similar. I just think it's slightly quieter. This is what it sounds like on video. Again, pair it with a cheap Y pipe, you're set. Cat-Back exhaust, you could probably do that for less than $700 with the Y pipe, with the Manzo exhaust. Honestly, I think that's kind of the best bang for your buck exhaust really you can get. Of course, when the exhaust gets this cheap, you got to be careful with rust. Personally, if you got the Manzo exhaust, I would put some header paint on it to keep it from rusting if you live in the salty areas like I do. So those are the exhausts that I recommend for under $1,000. Now, some of these exhausts have different size diameter piping. The exhaust you choose would depend on if you are looking for performance, if you're looking to go nuts, like me. So the piping size varies on these exhausts. So if you go to choose one of these exhausts and purchase them, make sure you check and see what size piping they have, because I did not. Out of all those exhausts, I would personally choose the Nvidia Q300 just because it is the best built exhaust under $1,000. It's the most expensive exhaust under $1,000, but that's just what I would go for, even though it is kind of quiet. It's very well built and sounds really nice. But if you're not concerned too much about build quality, I would personally go with the Top Speed exhaust. But you know what? It's all up to you. Whatever you want to do. Everybody's budget is different, so it's all up to you. But in general, those are the exhausts that I recommend to anybody who asks me, hey, what exhaust can I get for under $1,000? So next time we do this, I will talk about the ARC exhaust versus the Motordyne exhaust and which one I would prefer. Yes, I know I have the Motordyne exhaust, but I'm going to give you guys reasons and list some differences between the two exhausts and reasons why I should go with this one or that one. So that'll be next time on When We Talk Exhausts. That's going to wrap up today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at SilverFoxG37. Make sure you follow our racing club at Silver Fox Racing Group. Make sure you subscribe and join the Fox Pack today and hit the bell notification to be notified when we do something stupid. Remember, life is too short to stay stuck, and it's only legal if you get caught. Stay foxy.